Now we're ready.
All right.
Now we're really ready.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Hope you're having, if you're here in the U.S., hope you're getting ready to have a good holiday weekend. Want to welcome you. We're going to have a really good presentation today. Somebody we've been doing business with for a while. And what I'm going to do is cut straight to the most important part, our legal disclaimer. So let's go ahead and get to it. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using Metastock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. And Metastock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of their software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So, with that being said, like I promised, we have a really good presenter today. Going to tell you just a little bit about him. We've been doing business with Jeff Tompkins now. Next month it'll be officially 1 year, if you can believe that. We spent quite a few months developing out his methodologies into Metastock. Jeff has brought a lot of customers into the Metastock family with his methodologies. He started doing training on teaching people how to trade with a website called udemy.com. He's done that for a number of years. He's built up a huge student base, and he's somebody that really does a really good job of actually teaching people how to trade, and we have a lot of respect for him, and we certainly appreciate just kind of how well he explains stuff. So I hope you're interested in having a very good discussion today. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jeff on here. How are you doing today, Jeff?
I am well.
I'm doing well. How did I do with my introduction for you?
I would give you a 10 out of 10.
All right. What did I miss?
You didn't miss a whole lot, but I would like to add that we are going to, well, first let me share my screens. So let me,
Okay, I got it.
okay, are you seeing my full slide?
No, I am seeing your speaker notes, my friend.
Okay, let me see if I can swap. I'm working out dual monitors. Let me see if I can swap this.
Yeah, I think if you just click on the display, oh, there, okay. And that's perfect. That's what we're expecting to see.
That's the one I want you to see because that's where I have all of my tools set up. So yeah, I'll just add that what we're going to cover today, which I'm very excited about, is the tools and systems that I use to actually make a living in the market. So we're going to specifically be focusing on options trades today. I trade options as well as other markets like futures and Forex, but we're going to be digging into how to set up and screen for high probability options trades today. So I think you guys are really going to love what I have to show you. And then we can talk about how you can get the tools that I use to actually make a living trading the market. So that's really all I wanted to add. And we can go ahead and get into it if you're ready, Jeff.
I'm just going to get out of the way.
Okay. Well, feel free to jump in if you can lend any help with the platform side of things. But we're going to be mostly working out of the Metastock platform today. And then I want to get a little bit into how to input specific options orders using the TradeTrend tool. So I'm going to be toggling back and forth a little bit between Metastock and the trading platform that I use to place my trades. So I'll just go ahead and dig right in. So let me get over to Metastock here, and let me know if you don't see the platform come up on your screen, Jeff. I'm going to toggle over to it right now. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm guessing that some of you are familiar with the platform.
What were you saying,
or
Greg?
Current users of Metastock, and maybe some of you are not. I'm going to assume that you have some basic knowledge, but I'll try to do my best to kind of explain what I'm doing as I get into this. So this is the basic window that will come up when you open the Metastock platform. And really everything we're going to be doing is operated out of the Power Console up in the upper left. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that will bring up the console that gives us the option to chart, explore, and do system back tests. So what I'm going to show you first is how the signals for TradeTrend appear on our charts, what they are telling us how to read them and interpret them. And then we'll get in a little bit deeper into how to use that information to place high probability options trades. So I'm just going to pull up a ticker that I often trade, which is the TNA, as an ETF, a leveraged ETF. I'm going to pull up a chart, and I'm just going to make sure that the TradeTrend template is attached to the chart, as you can see here in the Power Console. And when I click Open Chart, it will bring up a nice, pretty candlestick chart with all of the TradeTrend signals. So just to give you a quick background of what TradeTrend is, what the methodology is behind the signals, it is largely momentum based. So what TradeTrend does, it looks for shifts and continuations in momentum in the markets. So when the algorithm or formula that's programmed into TradeTrend determines that momentum is slowing and about to shift the other way, then it will generate a buy or a sell signal. Also, if there is a current up or downtrend in the market, it will also look for opportune points within that trend to enter trades and take advantage of a continuation of the overall trend. So it's very versatile. It does both those things. And that's why you're going to see with the signals that I'll explain here in a second, that it does a really nice job at catching tops and bottoms of markets when we have big shifts like we did here. And it also does a nice job pinpointing continuations in existing trends like you see here. So let's kind of look a little bit. I'm going to zoom in here and look a little bit more closely at what the signals are, how to interpret them, and how do we know when a trade has triggered. So I'll just look at one of the recent buy signals on the TNA, the direction bull leveraged ETF. And so you'll notice that there's a diamond, a green diamond here. This is a buy setup. So when we see a green diamond, TradeTrend is telling us that there is a buying opportunity in the security that we're looking at, in this case, the TNA. So when we see that buy signal, that gives us advanced warning that there is a potential long trade pending that could be triggered. Now, we're looking at a daily chart here of the TNA. These signals work on all time frames. So whether you're an intraday trader trading a 5-minute chart, a daily trader trading a daily chart, or a longer term investor trading a weekly or monthly chart, these signals work on all time frames. So just so you know, mostly what we're going to be covering today is off of the daily chart, the end of day chart. So we get the buy signal here with the green diamond. And regardless of what time frame you're in, these signals are valid for up to 3 bars. So for a daily chart, the signal will be valid for up to 3 bars. In this particular case, we see that the trade triggered, and I'm going to show you here in a second how to know where to get in. We see the trade triggered on the very next bar, and that's signified by the green up arrow. All right, and conversely, if we had a short setup like we did here on June 21st, there's going to be a red diamond signifying a potential short setup. That one also triggered the next day, the next candle on the 24th. So not the next day, this was over a weekend. So the signal was generated on a Friday and it triggered on Monday. And you can see that by the red arrow, and it shows us the sell entry was triggered. So how do we know what price to get in? Well, that's all shown in the commentary. So if we click on View Expert Commentary, it's going to tell us exactly what price to enter the trade. So if we go back to this particular day when we had a long setup with the green diamond, that was shown in the commentary on June 4th. And it shows us that the suggested entry price is 56.28. Okay, and that was just above the high of the signal bar. So when we get the signal on June 4th, we simply look at the commentary, and it's going to tell us exactly where to place our buy stop order. So it tells us the criteria for a buy setup has occurred based on the alignment of technical patterns and other momentum volatility factors. The probability of prices moving in the anticipated direction, in this case up, is at its highest. And then it tells us where to enter our order. It also tells us where to put our stop loss order. So if we get a triggered trade, it's going to tell us that the trade's entered and where to place our stop loss order. It also tells us not to take an order if price trades above a certain level, in this case 57.93. So what that means is that if the market gaps up, for instance, the next day, we don't want to take the trade at an inopportune price point. We want to wait for it to retrace down to the level that TradeTrend suggests getting in, which in this case is 56.28 for this buy setup. So the setup was triggered with an order the next day. So all we would have had to do if we were just taking a directional trade and buying shares of the TNA is place a buy stop order above the high of this bar where the commentary tells us to. So very simple. What I'm going to show you guys today, we're going to cover is how to use options to take advantage of this move. This was obviously a very nice trade to the upside, but we could have done really, really well by trading options on this particular setup. So I'm going to show you here in just a second how we would do that using the information in the expert commentary. Okay, so before I do that, let me get out of this and just kind of show you some of the other signals on the chart. And I want you to see that not every signal is going to work out, but the ones that work out really nicely make up for some of the smaller losers that we see on the chart. And the nice thing is when a trade doesn't work out, TradeTrend does a very nice job at getting us out before the market reverses on us. But you can see that it does a very nice, accurate job at pinpointing turning points in the market. Astonishingly accurate at finding tops and bottoms, where you can see here where we were topping out and getting sell signals to where we were bottoming and getting buy signals. I can go back a little on the chart. There was a really nice one back here in December where TradeTrend caught this giant sell-off that we saw in December, this correction where we almost went into a bear market territory. It was about a 19.5% sell-off from the highs, and caught that move at the bottom, gave us the green diamond for a long setup and a nice trigger to the upside for a nice long trade. It also caught the move down. So you see before this major correction occurred in December, we got the red diamond, not quite at the top, but pretty darn close. And that one also triggered the next candle and had a really nice short trade there. One other thing I'll point out is you'll notice that the candles are colored differently. So when you see black candles, there is no trade in play. So there isn't a current trade to the long or short side open when there's a black candle. When you start to see lighter green hollow candles, that means that a trade is triggered, as you see here. And as the trade moves in the favor of the direction that TradeTrend anticipates, those candles will turn a darker color. And this is all demonstrated or explained, I should say, in the expert commentary. So you'll see with this particular short trade, we start out with the lighter colored red candles. And as TradeTrend begins to tighten up the stop loss orders to protect profits in the event of and you'll see that often in a steep sell-off like this, where the candles turn dark in the event of a potential reversal, because TradeTrend knows that when there's a sharp move to one side, the probability of a rubber band effect or a snapback in the opposite direction is high. So you'll see that happen here. But again, that's all explained here in the expert commentary. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. We'll go back to this long setup that we were looking at on June 4th. So you'll see as I arrow forward, you can, and this is one of the things I really love about Metastock, is you can go back and look at all these expert commentaries at any point in the past. And all I'm doing here is fast forwarding one day at a time. And you can see that as this trade is moving in our favor, we get instructions to move our stop loss to protect profits. And so you can see that the stop value for tomorrow's trading is being adjusted as the trade moves in our favor, as momentum continues to move up. And as it slows, it will continue to tighten that stop loss up to protect profits. You can see that the trade was exited here on the 14th, just a little over a week after it was entered, for a nice profit there. So that's all explained in the commentary. But if you're more of a visual person, I do like how Metastock changes the colors of the candles to go along with what the commentary is telling us to do. So that's really nice. All right, so those are the basic things that you want to understand, is that the diamonds signify a potential setup. The arrows are where the trade would trigger based on the instructions for the entry price in the commentary. And the exit, little exit bar, that's probably a little hard to see on your screen as it's small, but what you're seeing here are the exit bars telling us where to exit the trade. That's also provided to you. So everything you need to get in, manage the trade, and get out are given to you. And so it makes it very simple to take these directional trades. So what I want to get into now is how to use this information to set up high probability options trades, because that's where things get really exciting, when we can start making some good money in the options market using these accurate buy and sell signals. So what I'm going to do is we'll stick with this same example for simplicity's sake, and we'll look at some other live examples. I'm going to get into how to screen for these opportunities here in just a little bit. But let's take a look at this particular setup on June 4th on the TNA and how we could actually enter this as an options trade. So one of the key features and benefits of using TradeTrend is that it waits for confirmation of the anticipated momentum move. So if that move doesn't occur, we don't want to get in the trade at that time. And so let me see if I can find an example. Well, here's an example where we got a buy set up yesterday on the TNA, but it hasn't triggered yet because the market has not hit our buy stop order, which, as you can see in the commentary, is recommended at 65.32. So that's right up here in this area. The market didn't hit that order, so it's keeping us out of this trade setup until the conditions are right or opportune. So that's what you want to make sure you pay attention to when we look at using options to take advantage of these directional moves. So I'm going to show you here in just a second how to enter these types of orders based on the signals that are found in on the TradeTrend add-on for Metastock. So I'll just go back here, and I'm going to do a back test on this just so you can kind of see how this particular trade played out. So here was the setup, and after I run the back test, I'll show you how to enter the order. So let me get over to my trading platform, and I realize that everyone probably uses different brokers, different trading platforms to execute their trades. I personally use TD Ameritrade's Thinkorswim platform, so I'm just going to be operating out of that. And so everything I do in here, you can likely do in your own brokerage account. It just may be a little bit different in terms of how you operate within the platform. So what I've got here is their Think Back feature, which is a nice little convenient way to back test trades. And you can backtest options trade, which is pretty cool. So I've got the TNA up here. I need to change the date. What did I say? That was June 4th, I think, is when that buy signal was generated. So what we're going to look at is simply using calls and puts, long calls and long puts, to take directional trades in the options market and profit off of the TradeTrend signals. So one of the cool things is, I've traded some pretty complex option strategies in my time: iron condors, butterflies, calendar spreads. Options are really cool because they're versatile and you can do a lot of things with them, but they can also become very complex, and they can also become very expensive to trade if you're trading multi-leg strategies because of the commissions that entails. So one of the beauties of using TradeTrend to select options trades is it allows a lot of our users, and including myself, to simplify your option strategies and select single leg strategies like long calls and long puts to make money in the options market. Unfortunately, a lot of traders lose money trading calls and puts because their timing is not accurate. So the TradeTrend tool allows us to become more accurate in identifying momentum shifts and continuations and simplifying our option strategies by simply trading long calls and long puts. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you here just based on that one signal that we saw on June 4th. So this is again is the TNA off a daily chart. And generally what I'll do is I'll go about 30 days out in expiration to give myself plenty of time for the trade to play out. On that particular day, the TNA closed at 56.12. And what I do is I simply buy just right near the money or one strike out of the money. So we want to be looking at calls because this was a buy signal on the TNA. So we're going to be looking at buying call options to profit on a move to the upside. So what I'll do is I'll just buy one strike out of the money calls at the 56.50 strike. And it defaults to 10 contracts, so we'll just keep it at that. So the price that we're going to pay for these contracts at the midpoint is $3.31 roughly per contract. So what I like to look for is a double. I like to double my money, 100% ROI on these directional options trades. So that's what we're aiming to do based off of the TradeTrend signal. So if we go back over to the chart, and I'm going to get the commentary out of the way so we can see this a little better. We see that here is the setup, a trigger the next day, and I'll show you how I would enter this order in a minute. Right now, I'm just showing you what is possible trading long calls and long puts using the signals. We didn't get a signal in the other direction until looks like June 21st. We got a sell signal. All right, so I'm just going to fast forward to June 20th, the day before we got this sell signal, to show you what our profits would have looked like on this particular trade. So if we just fast forward here to June 20th. All right. So these 56.50 strike calls based on 10 contracts purchased at $3.31 generated a profit of $3,237.10 before commissions and fees. So we pretty much hit a double on this one. Pretty much doubled our money, just a little bit under 100% return on this particular move. So pretty cool, right? You can enter your call trade, your call order at the one strike out of the money contract, and on a lot of these opportunities, you can hit doubles and sometimes even triples. I'm guessing this one could have potentially been a triple on this sell setup before the buy signal occurred. In fact, let's take a look at that. I haven't examined that one. Let's see. So this was a sell setup, and this is a good example of how to take advantage of short setups where we use put options instead of call options. So this particular sell signal on May 8th, let me get out of the chain here and go back to May 8th. So this sell signal on May 8th that would have triggered on the next bar would have given us a nice opportunity to make some money on the downside. So here we're going to be looking at using put contracts. So we'll go about 30 days out, exactly 30 days out in expiration to the June 7th expiration, and we'll just go with the one strike out of the money puts on this day. The TNA closed at 64.82, and I will go ahead and enter a buy order for the 64.50 strike puts. We're going to be paying a little bit more money for these than we did the calls, $4.38 per contract. And let's see here. I don't remember when this trade switched from a sell to a buy. So I'll go ahead and fast forward to June 3rd when this particular setup went from a sell to a buy. And we'll fast forward here to Monday the 3rd. So this was a nice close to double again on this one. The implied volatility was a bit higher when we entered. So didn't quite. Oh, I'm sorry. We did a 200% return because we spent 438 and hit an overall open P&L of 8,416. So this is actually almost a 200% return on that move. So probably got a nice little bump in the increase in implied volatility and our profits. And I like trading puts when I get sell signals for that reason. It's because when the market drops, implied volatility goes up, and you get some juicier premiums as you get in and out of these trades. So this is nearly a 200% return on the 6450 strike puts purchased 30 days out in expiration based on the sell signal that TradeTrend found. So pretty cool stuff. This is what's possible with a lot of these signals that TradeTrend finds. So I'll go ahead and exit out of this. Now let's take a short look at how we want to enter these orders, because that's a key to being successful trading high probability option setups with TradeTrend. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and use this current setup that occurred yesterday, the buy setup. So let me get the commentary back up here. Okay. I guess let me pause here and see if there are any questions that have come through. I don't want to, I'm moving kind of quickly. I don't want to jump ahead and leave anybody lingering. Are there any questions, Jeff, that we want to address before I get into how to enter the options orders?
All right. Hey, Jeff, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So Carlos did ask, how do you scan for ETF index options?
Yeah, so we're going to get into the scanning here in just a minute. As soon as I show how to enter the orders, we're going to start doing some scanning and looking for actual live opportunities. So that's a great question. And I might need your help a little bit, Jeff, to get into some of the more specific scans, like with ETFs. I have a scan set up that I use personally to scan for equities that have weekly options available. I like to trade equities that have weekly options. So I was going to show that, but maybe you could assist me when we get to that point and getting a little bit more specific with the scans.
No problem. No problem at all. That's okay. The only question we have so far.
Okay, great. That's a good sign. I guess that means that everything is clear and you're able to understand it. So that's good. So let me explain now how to enter the options orders. So this is important. So here is the buy setup yesterday on the TNA. So it's telling us that our suggested entry price is 65.32. Okay. So keep that in mind. Right now, as of today, the TNA closed at 61.86. So we're not too close to the suggested entry price at this point. But remember, these signals are valid for up to 3 bars. So there's a good chance that the trade could end up triggering over the next couple of days, the next couple of trading days. So we want to be ready to buy or call contracts. And of course, this isn't a recommendation by any means to place any sort of trades with live money. This is simply for explanatory purposes. But this is what, if we were going to take, hypothetically speaking, a long call options trade on that signal, how we would set that up. And again, this is going to be a little different. It's going to vary by trading platform, by broker, but I'm going to show you how to do it in my platform. And there should be a similar way to structure this in your own platform. So if I go over to my trade tab, and we're going to go, so first step is, so we know that we want to do, sorry, let me get back over to we know we're looking at a long setup. So we want to use call options, right, to take advantage of a move to the upside. So we then select our expiration. And again, I like to use 30 days until expiration for these directional call and put trades. So we'd be looking at the August 2nd expiration, which is 31 days from now. And then we'd be looking at buying call contracts. Now, I explained that I like to use the one strike out of the money. That would be the case when the price hits our suggested entry level. So when you actually go to enter the trade, it's going to be further out of the money a lot of the times. Like now, we're a ways away from our 65.32 suggested entry price. But in terms of selecting the strike price, so and this is a dilemma that a lot of traders have that trade the options market, is they don't know which strike price to select. So TradeTrend on Metastock really simplifies that for us. It tells us what strike price we need to select to take advantage of this opportunity. And that is just the strike price that is closest to our suggested entry price. So 65.32 is our suggested entry. So we're going to buy the 65 strike calls if the TNA hits this price. So that's how I'm going to show you how to enter here. So we want to buy the 65 strike calls, but we only want to do it on a conditional basis. We don't want to buy them at the market price or at a limit price right now, because this trade may not end up triggering. We only want to take this if the momentum direction is confirmed. So in my platform, there's a little cogwheel. And again, this is going to be different, based on what platform you're using. But if I click on that cogwheel, it brings up my order rules dialog box. And generally what I'll do, time enforces how long the order is open. I'll generally change it to a good till canceled order. But if you do that, you want to make sure that you're keeping track of your open orders, because you don't want this to stay open if the signal is later nullified. But I like to use good till cancel because the signals are valid for up to 3 bars. So the next step is to enter a conditional order. So we only want to get into this trade if the mark price is greater than or equal to what TradeTrend on Metastock tells us is the suggested entry price. So 65.32 is our suggested entry. And a lot of times I'll just round that up to a more even number. We'll put it in at 65.35. Okay. So if you're not using Thinkorswim, this is going to be what's referred to as a conditional order in your trading platform. So when you enter your options order, there will be some way to enter a conditional order in your platform. And you just want to make sure that that condition is that you don't buy the 65 strike call contracts until the TNA is greater than or equal to 65.35. Okay. And Thinkorswim does a nice job at summarizing that order for us in words. So submit the following order. We're going to buy 10 TNA, and of course you can adjust the contract size accordingly based on your account size and risk tolerance. But you're going to buy 10 TNA August 2nd expiration 65 strike calls at 179 or better. And we actually need to change that to market. We're going to buy at the market price, because likely those contracts are not going to be trading at 179 or better if the TNA moves to the upside. So make sure that you enter a market order for your conditional setup. And then it tells us the order is valid until it's either filled or canceled, because we put it in as a good till canceled. So if you do that, just make sure that you're following the signals each day that TradeTrend suggests, assuming you're trading off the daily chart. And that if the order never triggers, then we need to cancel it. Okay. So that's how you enter a wait conditional order. And then if I hit save, it should here in a second show up under my working orders. Oh, no, I need to hit submit down here, confirm and send. And there it will show up under my working orders. So now we're simply waiting for the TNA to reach our suggested entry price that TradeTrend on Metastock has given us. So there's no guesswork here. It's very simple, and it just involves a little bit of patience of waiting for that trade to trigger. Sometimes it'll happen in the next bar, like it did in this particular short trade. Other times it will not happen, and sometimes it might take 2 to 3 bars for it to occur. So just be aware that each circumstance is a little bit different in terms of how it's going to play out. So that's how you enter the conditional order. And then we'll do some scanning here in just a second and look at some live setups. This one was pretty close to live. It occurred yesterday. It's still open and could potentially trigger. So any questions on how to enter the conditional options order in terms of what price to use, whether to use calls or to use puts, or any questions on how to do that, Jeff?
What did he ask?
I'm guessing based on the silence, everything's good. We're all good. So.
No, yeah, we're fine on this side. We did have a question that came in through GoToWebinar about the selection process for optional strike prices, but I think you covered that as we went through it.
Yeah, but I can clarify it again just to let you know. In terms of the strike price selection, we just want to select the strike price that's closest to the suggested entry price in the commentary. So in this particular example, yesterday, July 1st, we had a buy setup, and it's telling us the suggested entry price is 65.32. So if we round that to the nearest whole number, and let me see there, I think there's half point strikes in the TNA. So actually we could select the 65. No, yeah, I was going to say we could do the 65.50, but there isn't a 65.50 strike available at that expiration. So we'll just round down to the nearest whole number at 65. So that's how I select the strike prices, the nearest strike that's available at the expiration that we're trading. So in this case, it's 65. And we can look at some other examples, but this is what you want to be looking at, is the suggested entry price to select your strike price. Okay. All right, so let me close this chart out. And I know we had a question from one of our attendees that, in terms of screening for certain types of securities. I'm going to run through a screen just to kind of show you how it works using the screener that I use to find options opportunities. And so again, we just simply click the P in the upper left corner to pull up our Power Console, and we select Explore. System test allows us to back test. Since we're looking at, probably won't get into a whole lot of back testing on this session just because we're looking at options opportunities, and I'm not aware, maybe Jeff could tell me I'm wrong, but I'm not aware of a way to back test options trades in the platform per se using the TradeTrend signals. But we can do lots of back tests on securities in terms of, purchasing shares of the ETF or the stock. Really handy tool for that. And I really do love Metastock's back testing functionality and all the metrics that it gives. It's probably the most robust I've seen anywhere in terms of all the different data points it gives you. And so
I like it too, Jeff. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, you're not biased.
Nope,
right?
not at all.
No bias at all. No, I honestly, it is probably the best I've ever seen. So I use it a lot to do my system testing, because even on a lot of the really award-winning broker-dealer platforms that are out there, like Thinkorswim, do not give very robust back testing metrics. So kudos to Metastock for that, because it's very beneficial. Okay, so we're going to use the Explore tab, and we're going to make sure that we have our TradeTrend long and short setup selected in the upper left dialog box. And then in the lower left box, you can see that we have all kinds of opportunities to screen for trades in select markets. So everything from Forex, futures, equities in different countries, which another huge benefit of Metastock is being able to find trades in markets outside of the US. We have a lot of members who use TradeTrend to trade international markets. And then we can also create
I do want to cut in for a second, just because I know
Yeah.
this will save us a little bit of a step. Carlos had asked a question about ETFs. If you drill into that North American equities market, if you just click on that little
Okay.
triangle right next to it,
Oh, okay, Trent.
uh there's actually a list of all the ETFs right there. So there's about 2,200 of them. Just going to show you how to run
Okay.
the scan, but if you put a check mark there, it'll run all of the ETFs. And since we're looking at
Excellent.
that, you'll also see there's a list of all the monthly optionable scans that are available as well. So that'll help us in terms of answering Carlos's question, but that's all I had for you.
Okay. Perfect. That's very simple. Okay, so we can scan that. The one I'm going to do will be a little quicker because it's not quite as many. But there you go, Carlos. That's how you would scan the ETF markets. So and that's pre-populated, I believe. But what I like to do is create a custom list. So like you can see, I'm a futures trader as well. I have my futures list here with 49 futures markets. And so at the click of a mouse, I can simply select the checkbox and scan through exactly what I'm looking to trade. When I trade options, I like to trade securities that have weekly options available for a lot of reasons. One, it gives me more flexibility for selecting expirations. I also am a big advocate of trade adjustments. So I teach a lot about how to adjust and fix losing options trades. And that is much easier. There's a lot more flexibility around equities that have weekly options when it comes to making trade adjustments. We won't have time to get into that in this session, but perhaps in a future session, we can look at making adjustments to trades as well based on the TradeTrend signals. But for now, we're just going to be looking at scanning weekly options. So I have a list set up, and this list is actually available in the Metastock members area for you guys to download if you're using Metastock and the TradeTrend add-on. And so you can get access to this list, and it will scan 525 equities that have, and this includes ETFs, by the way, that have weekly options available. And so I make sure that that's selected. Again, it gives us the flexibility to scan any time frame. We can even customize our time frame, but we're going to be looking at the daily chart, end of day chart, again for our session today. And then all I have to do is click Start Exploration, and it's going to bring up my exploration tab, and you'll see that it's running. It runs really quickly. In this particular case, it runs when I do live sessions. It tends to run just a tad bit slower because of the bandwidth that's being used up by the GoToWebinar software. So generally, these will run a little bit faster in my experience, but it's looking for both long and short setups. And so when it completes, it's going to give us a summary of how many long setups were identified, how many short setups were identified for today, as well as the past 3 days. And it's going to actually tell us, I'll show you when this completes, how many days the signal is still valid for. So it gives us some really good information there. And then it also shows us any rejects. And so any equities or ETFs where there was not a signal generated, it will show that in the reject box. But we really don't need to pay too much attention to that. We just want to find the live signals that are currently in play. So we'll just wait a few more seconds here for this to finish up. So it's running through quite a few here, 525 potential opportunities. And there we go. So I think, let's see here. Okay, so it just ran the short setups. Now it's doing the long setups. So normally it tells me how many results that we got. Maybe it will tell me when the whole thing completes. But anyway, we have our list here of potential opportunities. There were 168 valid signals. So we have a pretty good list to choose from. Okay, so it looks like this is completed. Okay, so short setups, we got 76, and then long setups, we got 168. And that also shows us our rejects. So a lot of trade opportunities here. And if you just click on, right now we're looking at longs. If you click on the shorts, it'll show you those results as well. And this is actually a really cool tool that I like to use to gauge market sentiment. So if I see a lot more long setups versus short setups or vice versa, it gives me a clue as to where the bias is in the market. So we had 76 short setups to 168 long setups. So there's a bias to an upside move in the market overall. And so I pay attention to that. So if I'm going to be selecting trades, I may be more apt to look for opportunities where the results were greater. So we'll look at the long setups. And so again, there's 168 results. And what I want to point out here, it does give us a lot of good information where the equity closed, the entry, the max, the stop, but it also tells us how long the signal is good for, right? So remember that TradeTrend identifies momentum shifts and continuations before the move occurs. It's not a lagging indicator, it's a leading indicator that gives us a clue of market direction before the move actually occurs, and it does so 1 to 3 bars in advance. So we have up to 3 bars. In this case, for the daily scan, we have up to 3 days for the trade to trigger. And so this is telling us how long the trade is good for. And so if we double click on one of these, it's actually going to pull up a chart for us, and it's going to show us where the signal is. So here was one on Affleck. I think that's the gecko, right? Oh no, that's the duck. Gecko's gecko. So Affleck, the duck. I won't make any duck noises, spare you that. So this is the buy setup on Affleck on July 2nd today. And if I pull up my commentary, it's telling me the criteria for a buy setup has occurred based on the alignment of the technical patterns, including momentum, volatility, volume, and other trend factors. The probability of price moving to the upside is currently at its highest. And then it tells us again our suggested entry price, which is 56.25, using a buy stop order. That would be the type of order we would use if we were simply buying shares of Affleck. And so if we zoom in here a little bit, we'll look at here real quick how to enter this as an options order, because this is more of a live example. So 56.25 is our suggested entry price. Let's go over to the platform and pull up an options chain for Affleck, which is AFL is the ticker on that one. And we'll wait for our chain to come up here. And remember, I like to go about 30 days out in expiration, so we'd be looking at the August 2nd expiration date. And recall that our suggested entry price is 56.25. So we want to select a strike price that's closest to that. And we're actually kind of dead in between the 56.50 and the 56. So in a case like this, I just select the lower cost option. So that would be the one strike out of the money, 56.50 strike. And we're going to be buying, and again, you would adjust the quantity according to your account size and risk tolerance, the 56.50 strike calls that expire on August 2nd. And then I'm going to click my little cogwheel here and enter this as a conditional order using the market price, good till canceled. And I'm only going to enter this trade if the price is greater than or equal to 56.25. Okay, and then it's going to tell us that we'll buy 10 contracts of Affleck at the August 2nd expiration, the 56.50 strike calls, if the AFL is greater than or equal to 56.25. Okay, then when we hit confirm and send, it'll show up in our dialog box. Send that off to the exchange, and there it will sit in our working orders until AFL hits the suggested entry price from TradeTrend at 56.25. If it doesn't, we won't get filled. We won't buy the 56.50 strike calls. If it does hit that price, we'll buy the 50 strike calls at market, and we'll be in a long trade. And one of the great things about using these directional options trades and using TradeTrend and Metastock to find these opportunities is we don't need to worry so much about getting stopped out of trades. We simply buy the call or put options when we get the signal, and we have members that use different techniques to exit these trades. Some will scale out, some will exit at a 50% ROI, some wait till a double 100% ROI, and yet others will wait until they get an opposing signal in the opposite direction to really take advantage of the larger trends that can play out with these signals. So again, we won't get too much into managing or exiting these trades on the session in interest of time, but there are a few different ways you can manage these. But the beauty of the option strategy is that we're looking at today is that it simplifies the question of, well, where do I want to exit this? And so it limits our risk, right? Because with directional calls and puts, you can never lose more money than you spend to buy the call or the put contract. So your risk is always known ahead of time, and it's always capped. And when you combine that risk, built-in risk protection, and you combine it with the accuracy of the TradeTrend signals, it really can improve your consistency in the options market. And so these trades can become very high probability relative to somebody who is simply blindly buying calls and puts based on a hunch or a whim. So it's a great tool to use for that purpose. And that's all I've got for you guys. Unless you have any questions or want to look at anything else specifically, I want to just impart that knowledge on you today, and hopefully you got something out of it that you can use in your own live trading. And so I'll just pass it back to Jeff, and we can address any questions before we sign off. And also, Jeff will let you know how you can get access to the TradeTrend add-on for Metastock.
Hey, Jeff, thank you for teaching me how to put in a conditional buy order today. I've never used that. That's actually really cool. So in any case, that appears to be the end of the questions. I do want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate the work you've done. The feedback for this particular product has been just incredible. So I'm going to basically talk a little bit about how to get it. You made my job very easy today also, because you showed the scanning, you showed the expert advisor, you showed pretty much everything on it as well. So we did release this product back in January, so it's been available for about 7 months. I've had a lot of feedback from a lot of different customers, and it's been a very popular product. But Jeff did such a great job. I love how detailed everything is in terms of breaking things down. You know, you get the real-time signals, you get the triggers, you get the exits, you get exactly where your buy price should be, you get exactly what your trailing stop for the current day should be, and you even get the ability to go in and say, you know, I'm an option trader, here, show me the options, or hey, I want to find all of the ETFs that have a conditional signal, and it'll give you those as well. We did talk a little bit about how you can go in and backtest. Backtesting is one of my favorite features. With our Metastock backtester, it has something that's fairly unique. I haven't seen it in another place, but you do have the ability to go in and say, okay, well, you know, as an option trader, there's 4,400 different options that are available for me. Which ones work best with TradeTrend? And it can actually answer that question. It's a phenomenal ability to go back in, say, hey, what if I took every trade for the last year on all of the optionable stocks? Which stocks would have worked really well? Those are the ones I want to focus on, and let's ignore the ones that don't. So, and then, of course, it has a comprehensive user manual. There's a little bit of a training that's available that Jeff and I recorded a few months ago that's available as soon as you buy it as well. So with that, that's basically what's included. You get the 2 templates, you get the expert advisor, which gives you the alerts, the entry prices, you get the scans, which we call explorations, and you get the system tester. The price of it's only $90 per month, or $972 per year. And the offer that we've got here for you today is we want you to try it, of course. And what we're going to do is say if you pay for just 1 month, we'll give you 3 months. So we're going to allow you to basically try this for the next 3 months at an effective cost of $30 per month. If it's something that's worth it for you, if it works well for you, I tell you, it's going to be worth $90 per month if it's helping you make better trades. So we're going to give you 2 free months, whether you do that by the year or by the month. And it's a great way to try it because it lowers your entry risk. If you haven't heard of Metastock, it is a Metastock add-on. And we'll actually include a Metastock subscription with that, with the data from the region of your choice. Okay? And if you're not familiar with Metastock, I'm going to say just a few things about that. Metastock's been rated number 1 in its price category for 26 years in a row. It's been winning awards since some of my sales guys, since longer than they've been alive. And it's a great product. It helps you do everything we've kind of showcased today with Jeff Tompkins' TradeTrend add-on. And there's a reason it's been rated number 1 for that many years. One of the things that we started doing this year to help people get started is as soon as you kind of get going with the program and get your order in, we'll actually contact you and set up a white glove training program, class where we'll actually have somebody help you install the program, answer any questions you've got, and they actually schedule up to 2 hours. It may not last 2 hours, but they'll answer every question that you've got. And we also include in a Unleash the Power Metastock that goes through exactly step-by-step how to do the training and stuff like that. So it's a really good value. To take advantage of that, you can visit us at metastock.com/TradeTrend. You can give us a call at 800-882-3040, or you can visit us at metastock.com/saleschat. I would encourage you to try this product. Again, the feedback I've gotten from this thing has been incredible. I don't think I've talked to anybody that that didn't like it. So in any case, Jeff, I want to say thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoy the 4th of July. Are you going to do anything for that?
Likewise, yeah. We're my wife and I are taking our youngest down to California to visit some family. So we're headed out tomorrow morning.
We're actually headed to we're headed up to Soda Springs for the weekend. So
great.
So we'll be in your neck of the woods. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everybody. You can visit us at metastock.com/trade, or go ahead and sign up for that at metastock.com/TradeTrend, or give us a call. We'll be happy to answer any questions you've got. And I want to thank you for coming, and we'll see you at the next one.